Scotland is currently hosting the 26th UN Climate Change Conference of Parties. Whilst the rhetoric seems to be ramped up on the urgent need to take action, unsurprisingly, we're hearing more bark than bite. Some good policies have been made, with parties agreeing on an end to deforestation by 2030. However, we cannot allow individual policies and incrementalism to get all the attention. G20 leaders were seen throwing a coin into the Trevi fountain in Italy ahead of the COP26 event to try and acquire luck in tackling the biggest issue facing humankind. You know, I could feel so much more relaxed knowing that these people who are in positions to actually change things are pretending that doing so is in the hands of fate. You are the world leaders. We don't need luck, we need serious action. And that's it, that video encapsulates the whole predicament we're in. We are simply not taking this seriously enough. Boris Johnson, he thinks it's okay to fly to and from a summit all about protecting the environment. As a man who's tried to reinvent himself as an environmentalist, which is bullshit anyway, it seems he has a nice little habit of jet-setting luxury. The Prime Minister has spent £216,000 on private flights, emitting an estimated 52 tonnes of CO2. I mean, we don't really expect him to make any sacrifices, do we? The poor needs to travel in style, right? Although, it was nice to see him being held to account for once. And it was the BBC.
Makes you look a little bit weaselly, not answering the coal question, because they're going to go and you're talking about coal.
Yeah, that was our Prime Minister calling on other countries to stop using coal mines, whilst not doing the same here. Let's see what the US could bring to the table. Oh. Well, it's nice to see Jeff Bezos make an appearance, a perfect ambassador of capitalism, to speak about climate change. There's nothing at all ironic about the fact that Amazon's carbon footprint rose by 19% in 2020, totaling 60.64 million metric tons, and the use of fossil fuels increased by 69%. Or the fact that he blasted himself off to space in a very odd-shaped rocket for 4 minutes.
And New Shepard has cleared the tower on her way to space.
Yeah, it was totally normal that he was invited. Rather than invite these global elites, we should be aiming our sights at them. The richest 1% contribute more than twice the emissions of the poorest 50% of humanity, and corporations contribute 70% of global emissions. Do you really think we will get meaningful change? Our world leaders are often backed by big money interests. Are you convinced they have the guts to make the changes necessary to save our home? No, I think we'll get our mate Bezos to give us a nice speech, make a couple of greenwashing ads, and then go back to business as usual. There's still an element of the blame game, with the West constantly talking about China. Everybody needs to play their part, and yes, China is the world's biggest polluter. But let's dive into it. China's population is 1.4 billion, so right off the bat there's a clear reason as to why China emits so much. Having said that, when measuring countries' pollution per capita, we can see that Qatar is way at the top with 37.5%, and China way below at 7.72, with the US at 15.74. The second point is that China has very high exports. Because China was shrewd enough to build everything, of course its emissions will be high because it's the world's leading manufacturer. The rest of the world is externalizing their emissions by having a great deal of what they consume made in China. So instead of looking at China as the biggest threat, we should be looking at ourselves. Despite the UK hosting COP26, documents published by the Department of International Trade shows that Britain is seeking to increase fossil fuel production in many of the countries taking part in the conference. It might be worth looking at the US and how it spends its money. A clue, not very wisely. Currently, the US military budget stands at $788 billion, whilst Joe Biden has only pledged $36 billion towards tackling climate change in his 2022 budget. That's pennies in comparison. There must be someone out there who could save us. Who could it be? I know, the Queen. Oh. again. Climate change cannot be solved whilst we still operate under capitalism. Anything else is just performative nonsense. The planet has finite resources with capitalism's desire for infinite growth. A forest has no value to capital until a tree is cut down. The system is completely antagonistic to the natural world. Inviting Bezos, suggesting incremental changes, and pledging targets that are much too far away just won't cut it. We need system change, not climate change.